Okay, let's begin the town work session, September 27th. Roll call, please.
Clear.
Here.
Casanello.
Here.
Cater. Here. Larson.
Here.
Ramirez. Here. Morris.
Here.
Schneider is coming in remotely via Zoom.
I don't.
He didn't have his
The
video
only
up.
ones who see him is in there.
How their private
Are
hand
you, are you
signals.
good with his thumbs up or whatever? Okay.
Yeah, you did help me.
Okay, now, just for clarification, mechanism for coming in here. Trying to figure out how my mute and stuff works. Okay, so my mute button only works with the machine. It doesn't work with the app, right? I gotta keep the app open. Okay. I think I got that under control now. Okay, let's start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I hope it is.
Okay, next on the item, we get to welcome our new police chief. We'll go through the swearing in.
How are you?
Good, thank you. Would you please raise your right hand and
Yes,
repeat
ma'am.
after me? I, Alan Siebert,
I, Alan Seibert,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Virginia,
and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Virginia,
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge all my duties
that I will faithfully and impartially discharge all of my duties
incumbent upon me
incumbent upon me
as the Town of Haymarket Police Chief
as the town of Haymarket Police Chief
according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
according to the best of my abilities, so help me God.
Thank you, sir.
Jeez, really? Always gotta be a picture.
Sir, thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Well, I'm proud of you for not wearing cargo shorts.
It's easier than going around that stuff.
All right, and who's the fire marshal? Is he here?
He was here
Makes funny
a
noise
little bit
every time I
ago.
sit down.
It's okay.
I think he's sitting over there in the back corner.
Like a whoopee cushion.
Very good. Welcome, Chief.
That'd be a terrible prank.
Horrible.
What is it with you and cough drops? Are you addicted? You got fentanyl on them?
Used to be, what were those?
The
Okay,
Altoids?
Next agenda item, we're moving to monthly financial report.
Good evening. First of all, I just want to start, is there any specific questions on the monthlies you're in front of you? Okay. Sorry. At this time, there's nothing really out of the ordinary that I would want to bring up to your attention, other than the fact that some more tax revenues are trending higher than expected. One being the meals tax, and as of today, I received the sales tax for July, the first one for July, which is pretty high from what we expected. That'll be on next week's report. You can also see that we went ahead on the CARES Act expense. We got the okay to go ahead and move forward with the tempered glass, the work on the tempered glass for the town hall side, using CARES Act money. Since it qualifies, since it's dealing with the residents, town residents and the public, that is something that when we first got that fixed up there, we use kind of a plexiglass, so we kind of want to update now. We're more of a tempered glass, kind of like similar to DMV. We have the same contractor coming out here to do the work, since he did some good work in a really decent price. So we'll be using the funds to do that. That's in the process, so hopefully within the next month we'll have that done. Okay.
Okay.
Are there other items, Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind, are there other items that we can highlight that can be covered or taken out of the CARES fund?
We are actually going to have a discussion on those items on Thursday during our finance committee. Of course, we'll then share it on Monday as well.
Okay.
But we are in discussions of that. I apologize, I just got back from vacation last week, so I didn't get to that, but I'm working on getting that information to kind of give an idea of potential expenses and to see where we go from there.
Yeah. And to follow up on that, I also requested the town manager to get out the audio people for this audio system.
Yes.
To try and integrate Zoom in with it.
Yes.
We may be surprised and be required to get another computer or something to use as a integrated Zoom session computer. But that would all come out of the CARES Act money.
Good. Thank you.
Anything else? Anything from you, Marshawn?
Is he living with Michael Myers?
That's me. Okay. We'll move on then. Next is the Virginia Fire Funds Program. Let's see, we got the chief or deputy chief.
Good evening. My name is Kurt Heinrichs. I'm Assistant Chief with Prince William Fire and Rescue. I'm the Operations Chief. And before we go over the proposal, just a little background real fast, is the town manager approached my boss probably 2 months ago asking about the town of Haymarket contributing the ATL funds, aid to locality funds, to fire and rescue to help us with a variety of things that we do. We brought forward a proposal and some ideas, and out of that, I believe some of the committee may have met and gave us some recommendations back. And this evening, our presentation is based on some of the feedback that we received from the town council. So, can I have the next slide, please? So we were requested to provide a proposal for all the equipment that would be needed for the 3 stations that are closest to the town of Haymarket. They are the Haymarket, Evergreen, and Antioch stations, stations 4, 15, and 24. And really, for Prince William, the one thing that we absolutely need and we have difficulty getting funding for is ballistic vests. And I have an example right here. And unfortunately, this is something that fire and rescue in today's world that we I don't want to say routinely use, but we do use these. We had an incident last week in the Piedmont area up here, in fact, Station 4 responded to, where we had an attempted suicide. The gentleman had a knife. There was talk of a gun. So this type of vest is appropriate for our folks to wear in those types of situations. And when we were approached by the town manager, this is probably the most important piece of equipment that we could purchase right now with the Aid to Localities funding that you have. The proposal, based on the recommendation brought forward to us, is that 38 vests that would help outfit the 3 stations. And you can see the total cost there. I believe it's about $21,000. This is by far the most important thing that we don't currently have. We're fortunate, as you're well aware, that we're a fairly well-resourced county, and that's reflected in fire and rescue. However, this is probably our biggest deficit at the stations right now. And this would be the most benefit, both, to be quite honest, for our fire and rescue personnel, but also anyone that we would have to respond into to assist. We have a new program with the county police where we'll actually go into situations that what we traditionally would not think are exactly 100% safe, and that's the reason that we wear a ballistic vest now. The police will make it as safe as possible once they deem it to be not necessarily 100% safe, and it's not 0% safe. It's a professional judgment that we'll actually go in behind the police and start to render aid to anybody that's shot. And it's typically called what we call as high threat response. People call it active shooter. Unfortunately, it's becoming more and more common across the United States. I think there was one recently, just in the last couple of days, where someone went into a Kroger and started to, unfortunately, I think it was a disgruntled employee or a vendor or something like that. The police will go in there and try to take care of the threat, and while they're taking care of the person doing that, we come in right behind them wearing the ballistic vest that lets us get in a little quicker to start to render aid. So this is kind of why this is certainly our number one top recommendation to the town to assist fire and rescue with providing service to Haymarket and the surrounding area.
Okay.
Any questions?
Well, I do have one question. These are assigned individually, right, the vests?
They're assigned to tactical units. We'll put, our goal is to put 4 in every fire engine, 4 in every ladder truck, and 2 or 3 on every medic unit. So whoever's there, so it's like our air packs. We don't have our own air pack assigned. It's basically assigned to the vehicle. So when we come on duty in the morning, we check it out just like we check our air pack out.
Okay. Thank you.
Mary?
I see on the memo that's in our agenda packet, there are 3 options, and they go there are a few different ones in comparison to this one. Are you presenting this solely based on the feedback that you received from council members previously?
Yes. And
Okay.
in fact, the next slide will show, based on the recommendations that we received back from the town council, some additional proposals to use for the funding.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So the next slide, please. So the additional proposal, in addition to purchasing those 38 vests, would be able to purchase equipment for 2 of our swift water boats that serve Haymarket. Basically, you can see, and I haven't listed everything on here, but for the boat, we would purchase searchlight, prop guards, just because of what we're using the boats in. Typically, we've been in motorhome parks with these when they flood. We've been just about anywhere when it floods, so we have a guard that we protect the prop. Waterproof radio bags and microphones for the firefighters there. And if you look at the picture, we would buy additional helmets, personal flotation devices, is commonly referred to as life jackets, and then boots for the folks. In addition, we would recommend the purchase of an additional 43 ballistic vests.
Additional 43.
And to be quite honest, we're about 110 vests short for optimal deployment for Prince William. So the 38 vests would certainly go to the immediate 3 stations. The 43 additional would be used in the stations that would respond to Haymarket in the event of a shooting, but they'd also be used farther out And if you chose to use all the funding that you have for vests, obviously they would be sprinkled throughout Prince William County. Certainly in this area that serves Haymark, but certainly there could be some that end up on a fire engine or a medic unit in Woodbridge.
How often are Swiftwater, like boats and those sorts of things needed? And are there already some in stations near here?
There are. In fact, the two closest stations have the boats. We just put them in service, so we haven't had them fully outfitted yet, and that would be the request, is to kind of make sure that they have all the equipment and all the personal protective equipment necessary. I'll be honest with you, our Swiftwater program is not getting any slower. I don't want to, it's raining more for whatever reason, and we're getting more and more flooding across the entire county. We've actually, this year, we've done a redeployment of our boats because of that.
Okay.
So they're considered a specialty piece, so they're not as busy as a fire engine or a medic unit. But obviously, when you need a boat, nothing else will do.
Right.
So, and that's kind of where we have them. So, and we're in the vicinity, and you would be surprised where it floods. With the recent hurricane that just went through, I grew up in New Jersey, in Manville. I grew up right in that area. Places that have never flooded flood now, and we are seeing the same thing in Prince William County. So I can't 100% tell you that we could certainly end up deploying the boats on 55. It just depends on how much rain we get. So unfortunately, they're getting busier and busier.
And I'm assuming you have responsibility for like Silver Lake, and
We do.
so we do have water resources around here, so.
Lake Manassas, Silver Lake, it runs the gamut. Any place that you have a small creek, when it rains enough, it becomes a river.
Yep, North Fork, my parents' drainage pond in their backyard in Dominion Valley. It's small, but I'm telling you,
Right.
it would be used there if necessary. Anybody have any questions?
Chief, that any monies that we allocate have to be then adopted by and accepted by the board, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. For expediency purposes, so that we don't beat this to death, we talked about this last week and a couple weeks before that. I would suggest we authorize I would move we approve the purchase of 81 vests and the equipment for 2 Swiftwater rescue boats from the funds received from the Virginia Fire Fund in an amount not to exceed $59,200 to come from the, Roberto, what's the line item?
It will come from line item, part of the amendment, contributions, other, 321001.
Line item 321001.
So it's not one of the options?
That's essentially option B.
Well, not really. Option B is 64.
Right, with an
Right.
extra amount of.
43 and 38 is 81 vests.
Right. So we're creating another option. The option that is being presented.
Okay. Can you second that?
Oh, yeah, I'll second that. Doing my math.
Okay, do you know what that total would equal? Do we have an itemized list? so that we know what
$59,028.
Okay, so we are limiting.
We're within the
to what we're
59,200,
requesting.
correct?
Okay,
And let's be clear, this is money we've been holding on to for a while. And-
Right.
And there's a need, so we should be dispersing it. It'll benefit the folks in town, and it'll benefit the fire department
Okay,
employees.
but, Mr. Mayor, can I
Yes.
just ask a question? So, obviously, there's assistance that the county receives the fire department receives from the county. If you were presented with an option of the 108 vests compared to the 81 plus the equipment for 2 Swift boats, which one in your recommendation would you go for, knowing what's available out there for additional funding?
Based on the way that you're asking the question, I would go for all the vests, personally.
Why? Why would you not present that to the council? Because the thing is, we're approving it. So,
I understand, sir. Getting the vests, we've historically only been able to purchase them with grant funding, such as ATL, we've gotten grant funding from elsewhere. We would be able to perhaps reprogram money to fully outfit the boats. The vests are an item that, the way that we've been able to get them, we've gotten them through regional grants to this date, to this point, and this is really just another vehicle of, I would consider grant funding to the county. So that would be my rationale. We would be able to slowly piecemeal the Swiftwater boat to finish the deployment of the Swiftwater boat. Unfortunately, with personal protection, if you're going to ask me, the most important thing to me are my firefighters. All the career staff, all the volunteers that work in the system, I want to make sure they have the best equipment to protect themselves. And unfortunately, we have to wear ballistic vests now. So if you're going to ask, that's what I would go for.
Mr. Mayor, could I ask for us to discuss then to then look at purchasing 105 ballistic vests instead of the 81 plus the equipment for the Swift boats?
Well, we can put that up for discussion. As you know, this money is granted and filtered through us. So, of course, at least for me, my interest is my community. I'm not interested in Woodbridge. I'll let Woodbridge take care of themselves. So I can understand his point of view because he's county. His interest is county. So I'll let other people.
Let me just try to clarify a question here about these funds. These are state funds that are sent to localities, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so we have other localities within Prince William County, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we have what? Dumfries, we have Occoquan. Who else contributes? Quantico, maybe at a small level. Are you getting funds from those communities as well?
No, I believe they elect to provide that to their closest. I'm not 100% sure, but I can tell you Department of Fire, the fire and rescue system as a whole do not receive funds from those towns. They may provide them to their individual fire companies. I'm not sure. So I really can't give you a firm answer as to what they do with their funding.
So we don't know if they're providing funds to the county through this grant program.
Correct. I can't tell you where. I don't want to give you an answer that I think is right, so I can't tell you. I'm not sure.
Does anybody else know if that's?
In a nutshell, here's what it comes down to. If they're receiving these funds and they're giving them to the local volunteers, then no, they don't have to go through the county. If they're giving them to professional staff or the county fire department, then it has to go through the board for acceptance. So if they're not doing it that way, and we've operated that way in the past, for those who need a little bit of background, when this came up several years ago, the then chief wanted the lump sum to spend as he wished in Prince William County, wherever he wanted, and essentially throw it in his general fund, and we told him no. He had to identify specific needs, and there was a lot of pushback on that, so it came down to, well, you identify your specific needs, and then you present us with an invoice, and we'll repay you, to ensure that the monies went to the three closest fire stations, because that's essentially who we're supposed to be funding with this. In my mind, we're supposed to be funding with these funds. To Chris's point, again, we're taking the money and rather magnanimously, or somewhat magnanimously, I don't know if that's the right word, using it for what your needs are. And in this particular cycle, I can see that. I would rather it go to actual hose replacement, other equipment replacement, that sort of thing, but I understand the need for this. And I think that in providing 81 vests, that's a significant number, given that it's going to extend further than just 3 stations that serve us. I would ask, and I'm not going to put you on the spot by asking, but I'll make it a rhetorical question, given the amount of money that we pay in a fire levy and county real estate taxes and personal property taxes, why isn't the county buying ballistic vests? Because quite frankly, I would make that priority 1 if I were them, but I guess the board doesn't share the same set of priorities that we have. So if there's a shortfall, I would suggest going to the county for the shortfall because, that's what we pay them taxes for. Why pay for them twice?
So what's the delta? We're going to provide 81, and you're asking for how many?
108.
I
108?
believe 105, but honestly, if you're,
No,
what I mean is,
105 brings us over.
we're happy
106
to
brings us over.
receive what we receive. I mean, this is obviously the discretion of the town. 81 vests
That's a,
is 81 more than we have today, right? Outfitting the Swiftwater boats is more than we have today, so.
Are they currently not fully outfitted? Is that what I'm understanding?
That's correct. We're finishing up the deployment of those, so there's still a handful of items that we need to purchase for
Two
them.
birds with one stone.
Yes, but if I could just add to that, the equipment for the Swift boats he can get the monies, or the fire department can get the monies elsewhere.
They get the money for the vests
But it's
elsewhere.
but that's what he's saying, that it's hard to get the money for the vests. So if we as a town could cover the cost for the item that it's hard for them to receive money for.
I see it equally hard to get them for both, given the current budget situation. So, I mean, if you want, I'll be more than happy to turn this into a bully pulpit and shame the board into buying more ballistic vests. I got no problem doing that. I mean, I'll go to the next board meeting and say, why did we buy 81 and why haven't you bought any? I got no problem doing that.
Well, let's not get sidetracked here. If you want to go to the Board of Supervisors, that's your business. But what we're talking about here is dispensing $59,200. Either way, I'm voting yes. I'm just asking council on the dais, since we have heard from the representative from the fire department that the hardest item to receive funding for is the vest, why would we not contribute the money towards that item and purchase 105 of them?
Joe,
what we're really talking about is what, 23 vests?
I believe so, sir.
That- If I did my math right, I'm not too good at math, but I think it's 23. Okay.
and you
23
vote on
vests
money?
that the county can fund, I would think that they can fund. And this would be a really good incentive to show the county what we can do with that money. I'm for doing the 81 and outfitting these Swift rescue boats, because I think there's going to be an increasing need for that as well. I think if the county can find the money for this stuff, they ought to be able to find the money for the vests. So I'm pretty firm where I am. I think we need to just move forward with the proposal that we made the motion and seconded.
I was going to say, I like this proposal as well because I feel like it's impactful immediately within both of those areas.
Thoughts? Open discussion.
I mean, I certainly hear helping with both ballistic and boats, and that's all great, and it's hard to decide between helping with A or B, right? We're helping in general. But they did say that their request was for 105 vests. And to be equitable to everyone and ensuring their safety kind of is more important to me than serving our immediate area only. Like, that's 105 lives, if you think about it. And you can fuss at the board, that's fine, but at the end of the day, this is an opportunity for us to help them, and this is what they're asking us for, and so I'm with Councilman Morris and following with their request of option A.
Joe,
Just one more comment. In thinking about this, how long would it take to get the money for the Swift boats from the county? Is that the next budget? Because this is money that we can implement right away, correct?
It's a process.
Yeah. Okay. So there is no money in your budget right now to outfit this stuff?
We would look at reprogramming funds.
You would have to so couldn't you reprogram for vests?
To this point, we've only received ballistic vests through regional grants. The county, and I can't explain the past practice, but to this point, we've never actually purchased vests ourselves with our own budget. So taking the opportunity of grant funding. In this case, I consider the aid to locality, certainly it is a grant because it's coming from another jurisdiction, it's coming from the town council. That, to me, it seemed very appropriate. To me, I don't want to, I'll be quite honest, this is my perspective as the fire department here, is not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. Either way, very appreciative of the fact that the Haymarket Town Council is going to look out for us, whether it is vests or equipment for our swift water boats. I just appreciate the fact that you guys reached out with this because whatever you decide is going to have an impact.
Right.
Because the vests, I hope we never have to use them. Unfortunately, we do use them. I will also say that the same stuff with the swift water rescue equipment. We put our folks in that stuff for a reason because flood water is kind of nasty, and certainly having the right vest on for swift water purposes will keep our head above water. So we're just appreciative of the fact that you guys are helping us out, and we're not. While we do have a good budget, I never want to say that, it's not unlimited. So decisions are made, just like the town council. You guys make decisions on where to prioritize your funding. We've prioritized our funding where we do have our foot in the door for ballistic vests. This is a great opportunity to increase it. 81, 105, we're going to take either ones, and we're going to be super appreciative. So recognize no matter what the decision, you're going to outfit more firefighters with vests.
I'm ready to vote.
Okay, ready for vote?
Yeah, I'm voting yes either way.
Okay. So right now, just for a point of clarification, what's the motion?
The motion on the floor is to purchase, for them to purchase 81 vests, 2 swift boats with
Equipment.
water rescue, not to exceed $59,200.
Okay, let's do a roll call vote, and that way we can get.
Aye.
Casanello,
Yes.
Pater,
Yes.
Ramirez, Morris,
Yes.
Snyder,
One beep, a yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
You hear me?
Yes.
Thank you very much. We really
Thank you,
appreciate
man.
it.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
just bring back to your department how appreciative we are for the service that you do.
Well, and we also appreciate the support that we get provided by, officially from the town council, but obviously unofficially from all the residents in the town. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See, they have money that they can move around and so.
Okay, next up is the Community Park Partnership.
Good evening.
Good evening, welcome.
Thank you. My name is Chuck Mason. This is my wife, Joanna Mason. We are wanting to present to you guys revisit the proposal we mentioned to you guys about the 14740 Washington Street. We call it the Gathering Project. We like the opportunity just to kind of get a little bit more detail about our proposal. And if you don't mind, I'd just like to start by saying that me and my wife have been living in the community for almost 10 years now. We love Haymarket. We're invested in Haymarket. We bought here. We did a lot of research before we bought, with the idea of this being our forever home. We're going to retire here, and we're going to live our days out here. So we're very invested into the community and how it looks, how it feels, and what's offered and what's available to the community members. So my wife has been involved in marketing and large event programs for multiple years for a major corporation. And we just felt like that we could provide some of that talent to help better our community. And so the Gatherings of Haymarket is kind of the blossom of that idea.
Right now, currently, there's not a place for the community to gather, there's not a place for Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts to get together and have meetings or any other kind of clubs, or if we wanted to have a birthday party. And I just think that any locality or any community needs to have something like that. Without further ado, I'd like to move forward. Go ahead to the next slide, please. So basically what we want to present is kind of our vision for the agreement. Sorry, sir.
Want to turn the lights down, just one or two? Can we turn the lights? Yeah. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh,
Hey, you're more blind than I am.
Yeah.
is that better? Okay. So basically, we just want to present to the council our vision of what we're going to do as part of the agreement on the inside of the property. So we try our best to render at the bottom half, top half what it looks like currently, bottom half what we propose that we're going to try to make to get it to look like. All of these areas, these different living spaces, we're going to divide into segments for different uses. Like you're seeing here, the left side, we do that space, be a good place for Bible studies, book clubs, or you name it. Next slide, please. As soon as you walk through the door, the first slide is what you see on the left. This slide here is what you would see on the right. So basically, you see redoing floors, wainscoting, a gathering place for meals and things of that sort, if the birthday parties and things of that nature. Also, we were proposing that we would consider making an entryway with some pocket doors in the room next to it, so that if there was a birthday party or an anniversary or something, and you needed more seating area, we could offer that space available to the party itself. Next slide. And that's just kind of a small rendering of what we anticipate that would kind of look like. Next slide. Now, when you go through the front door, immediately the first group of Dutch doors that you see right now, that's in that area is the area we're proposing for the conference room area. Now, the way we envision it are some grand wood doors that we would put in place to kind of let you know that you're walking into more of a professional area. We would want to put a conference room table, just make it into a really professional area. We would put a large monitor on the wall to allow for teleconferencing. We would have Wi-Fi throughout. And so that space would also be able to be rented for those types of events. Next space. Slide, please. This is kind of our vision of the kitchen. Again, making it quaint, like our town, eat-in kitchen, a place that you could basically go in and prepare a meal if you needed to, or if you're having a party, prepare for that party, and feel like you're in a nice space. The kitchen can be rented on its own, but for the most part, it's mostly addition to any other part of the party or any other part of the room that you're going to be renting. So it's like a part of that. Next slide. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you.
Okay. The other rooms that are kind of adjacent, we are looking at those being breakout rooms and meeting rooms. Those would be much less expensive, so make it available for Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts. We'll make the floor so it's easily cleaned up, so if you wanted to have a painting party or you want to do crafts and things of that sort, so that, basically a breakout room. Next slide. Events. Go on to the next slide, please. So, as you can see, just kind of decked it out, kind of looking at the anniversary here at the bottom. We're also looking at utilizing some of the space on the outside. Now, as you'll see in the slide coming up further, we segmented the space on the outside into 4 quadrants. We would have one specific quadrant that is only utilized for rental for birthday spaces. So, and just to make it clear, the playground, of course, is off limits. We're not touching that, and people will know ahead of time that they are not to be utilizing that space if they're having a birthday party. But we would offer the capability for moon bounces and things of that sort. So you could rent the inside if you wanted to have a party on the inside, and then an area on the outside for the kids to play in moon bounce area. Next slide. This is just some of the some comps of like our competitors. I was actually kind of surprised. I mean, there's really not a whole lot nearby us to be offered for like that I was able to find. So you have the Manassas Park Community Center. I mean, for that small room, they basically offer they're charging $138 an hour. So, next slide. The next thing is Signal Hill. Again, our community offers a quaint look and feel. I feel like the Dock Gathering Center should offer that as well. Next slide. Christmas Wonderland. Now, one of the things that we were talking about doing is like our signature event for Haymarket. A North Pole away from North Pole, basically. So when you walk into the location, you're basically walking into Santa's living room. So you could have this being on the left-hand side when you walk in. You can have Miss Santa sitting there knitting. Next slide. On the right-hand side, you can have a chair and Santa Claus sitting there, and basically offer the capability for people to take pictures and photos with Santa Claus and Miss Santa Claus. We would also, of course, open it up to our community vendors, basically to have Haymarket swag that's offered and other goods that are offered there. If you could go back a slide. Thank you. I just wanted to kind of point out that for Haymarket residents and military, drastically reduced price for our community members to be able to go and have their children take pictures of Santa Claus. But that's just a basic breakdown. Next slide. Good. And next one. That's kind of what you have to deal with now when you're going to take pictures of Santa Claus. You got to stand in the mall, you got to stand there for hours, and they're charging roughly twice what we were talking about charging. Again, we're not looking to necessarily capitalize, we're just looking to create an environment for our community to be able to have something quaint, and also to be a signature event that Haymarket is known for. One of the other things we're looking at doing is having kind of festivals, art festivals. And I'm sorry, I apologize, it's a little hard to see. But where you see the little squares is basically where we envision outside, where you have matching tents. And if you can see, like down here, art festivals, people can walk through, look at art, purchase art, things of that sort. Other festivals that Oktoberfest. Next slide. Actually, go back, sorry. This is just an idea. Basically, we would provide, again, look and feel is important. Our community, how we look is important. So we wouldn't want just anybody bringing their own tents, so it would be uniformity. We would provide the uniformity of the tents for the festival, booth, table, and then they would, of course, provide the contents. Something like this, of course, would be free because you're going to purchase from the festival. Next slide. Another thing we were thinking about doing, which is kind of already being done to some degree, is when you walk into the property on the right-hand side, usually there's a stage set up there when we have events, but offering that up to like Manassas Theater, having movie nights, small concerts, of course, understanding that we're in a small community and being respectful of our neighbors and people around us, but within certain parameters, certain hours, having events that the community can enjoy. Next slide. That's just an illustration of basically how we envision dividing it up. Since the area here at the bottom, the quad 3 with on the left, where we're hoping eventually an amphitheater would go into. Quad 4 being where we would think some of the theater stuff would occur, concerts and things of that sort. Since that's up front, that kind of dictates the price. But the quad 2 is where we envision the moon bounces and where birthday parties would be segregated to. Next slide. Next slide. This is just a rough estimate of what we think needs to be done. We walk through with a contractor, kind of look at what we needed to do to kind of get it up to par. We approximated roughly about $55K to kind of get the inside of the speed, get it looking nice and presentable, and also doing some light landscaping on the outside. Next slide. Just further cost breakdown. Go ahead to the next slide. Scheduling. Next slide. we were looking with, working with a company called Thrive. And basically, they provide all of the marketing analysis, social media analysis. They will also provide a website for the gathering place, as well as each individual that goes to book an event can see already what's booked. They can create their own page, so if they want to do this every year, they have their own little segmented space to be able to do that. And it's also a place for the community to be able to, the town to be able to see what's going on, what are the trends with social media. We can also monitor what people's reviews are and things of that sort. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide, please. This is just, again, an approximation of what we feel like it would cost to operate internet, electricity, maintenance, things of that sort. We figured about, in this phase, in beginning phase, about $840 a month, but that's not anticipating, eventually we're going to need to hire help. Next slide. Go next slide. So I just wanted to kind of break down what we felt like, and again, this is in flux. We plan to be in cooperation with the town all along the way, but this is just kind of our thoughts in the beginning. It's a little harder to read that than I thought it would be, but yeah.
Over the cost of rental.
Yeah, okay, so we would cover the cost of rental. We would develop and manage events on the property for the city. We would manage the scheduling of events and space rental, maintain the inside of the property, include cosmetic damage and issues caused by clients, appliances and alarms, to include monitoring fees, and we will respond to alarms. So if there's ever alarms going off in the middle of the night, of course, Hammark Police will respond, but none of you guys will be getting a call. We'll get up in the middle of the night and go across the street. Kind of that. We will maintain landscaping around the immediate structure. And we were operating in lieu of rent until total business investment is met. We would arrange for parking and transportation to festival events. Right now, the idea is that the parking ride, we would set up a van pool to bring people back and forth to festival events so to reduce traffic and not have any parking issues, people parking in private areas. And we would cover the cleaning of the entire property, include installed items like the amphitheater. So any trash pickup, even when there's not events, we would take care of the maintenance of that property in regards to that. Now, landscaping, mowing the grass and things of that sort, we understand there's already a current contract in place, but in regards to just making sure it's clean, presentable, we'll take care of that. Next slide. What we were hoping that the town would take responsibility, we would cover the cost of lawn care, property maintenance,
Other than changes made by the Masons with city approval.
exactly. So if we make a change on the inside, we're not going to come to the city and say, hey, we need to do that. We've come to get approval from you guys in advance, and then take care of it from that point on. The only thing that, one of the other key points is major structural things, like plumbing, things that we can't touch and we're not going to touch. The roof, foundation issues like that, since it's still town property, we expect the town to take care of that. Installation of sidewalk, amphitheater, installation of the driveway, for using like snow removal and things of that sort. Again, these are all just proposed things, they're just, without having talked to you guys in advance. Cost of hardscaping and seating not covered, and cost of maintenance of the entrance. Again, if we're gonna do this, we like to do it right. Right now, when you drive by that property, you don't know if it looks like a private property. It looks like somebody's home. We feel like that if, as a town, taking pride in it, we should also present an entrance so it makes it clear, stands out on its own, what this property is for. Next slide.
Install maintenance of fence perimeter.
Exactly, and that's something that's one of the shared costs, of negotiable costs. That's something that we realize that there's going to have to be some barrier, whether it's a landscape barrier or a fence, something we would talk to the town and negotiate on.
Installation of front and side patio.
We're hopefully anticipating at some point that the side area of the house with those French doors, that people might utilize that for small weddings or something like that. we want to offer the capability, maybe walk a stone path to a gazebo there on the side. So if people wanted to do that, then they have, in the community, that's offered to be able to do that. Questions? And
This mayor's excited.
Very excited.
where do you start, right?
I did have a couple questions. The flooring piece, is it going to be, consistent throughout the home? I know you talked a little bit about flooring that was, like if you're going to have paint or easy to clean up, but it would be cohesive?
So throughout the house, minus the two multi-purpose or breakout rooms, there would be wood flooring, and then in those two breakout rooms where we anticipate paint class or craft class, we would have kind of like a durable covering over to protect the wood floor, so it's easy cleanup.
Okay.
But the integrity of the wood would just be covered up.
So something with light, but again, we want to set up like a small council that would be helping us, as part of the town council, that would be helping us make sure that whatever changes or anything that we install in the house is consistent with what the town has vision.
Okay, perfect. And then have you thought much about security on events that might be a little larger? Is that a piece that you've thought about?
We knew that that's going to be something we're going to have to factor in. When we get to a point where we are managing larger events, at that point we would then either rent out security or talk to the city to see if there's any. We would of course want to offer the town the ability to have overtime if they want to do so.
Okay.
If that's not the case, then we would then rent out security to be able to meet those needs.
Perfect, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So I know that you mentioned for like Christmas, that fun event for Santa and all that stuff, that you mentioned like a decreased rate for residents. Do you have any other, I don't want to say perks, because obviously having you guys redo this house is a perk, but do you have any other incentives or specials, things in mind for residents only?
Absolutely. So one of the things we want to offer to the town residents is the ability to biannually to have first dibs at blacking out dates on the calendar. So since this is a community facility, a community center, we want to make sure we're offering it to the community, and that people outside the community aren't just blacking out the whole thing before they have an opportunity to do so. So that's one of the major perks that we want to offer for them.
And also, I wanted to add that we want to keep it hyper-local, so, we really want to stress the emphasis on small business, diverse business, minority-owned business, and highlight those businesses so the town of Haymarket residents would just have a one-stop shop versus going to Dulles Expo and doing the Virginia Christmas Bazaar.
That's awesome, thank you.
Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. How would a private event restrict residents from using the park? Have you given any thought to it?
Let me make sure I understand your question. So like if there's being a birthday being
You have
had,
a birthday, those inflatables that's out there. How would the residents be restricted from interfering or vice versa?
we don't have any plans to restrict. I mean, right now as it stands, people can go and have birthday parties and things of that sort if they wanted to do so. We don't have any plans to restrict the community members from going to the other parts of the park. I'm not going to post security up, but we think that our community members are probably plenty respectful of their birthday party. But we will be on call if there's ever any issues that we can then right across the street, so we can then manage that.
Okay.
That's appropriately answering your question.
Right, it did. With the capacity of each of the rooms that are there, have you thought of parking?
Yes. So you mean for like small events, or small events? We felt like that the parking is appropriate as it stands right now. And again, that's up to the town council if you feel differently. But for larger events, that's where we would step in and then shuttle in people from the park and ride.
You mentioned $55,000 investment in getting it to the point of being occupied. I did not see where you were asking of the council or of the town to invest that amount, or is a shared amount?
Negative.
What was your your vision for that?
Our vision was that we would invest that amount on our own, and then in lieu of rent until that amount was satisfied.
Okay. Have you looked at the recent the group that came out and did the
I've shared the building report
building
with
report.
the Masons.
Yes, that's correct.
how do you guys feel about the status of the building as is, especially when you look at that report that we just had?
I agree. I mean, the building needs work aesthetically on the outside. And I feel like, what I understand, structurally, it's sound. And I understand that there's going to be a tiered approach to getting it completely up to speed. We're not going to be able to do that all at once. Our plan is to continue to add on, get the place painted, things of that sort. Again, with the town council's approval, each step to get it to where it needs to be. I mean, the property, I feel, looks good now. We're just going to make it look better and presentable for town meetings. And any safety issues like broken glass and things like that, so an alarm system, that's something we're going to square away.
Personally, I'm glad that this vision is still alive with you guys. But what is it that you need from council?
Just the cooperation of number one, giving us the opportunity to be able to provide this vision, and number two, helping us with any projects along the way. Like, for example, an amphitheater would be great. I know that's something that was being considered in the future. Now, we understand that that's not going to, may or may not occur. But fencing, signage on the front, a sidewalk to allow people to walk easily and safely along the front of that area. Again, these are things that I'm going to understand are already kind of proposed items that the town council is talking about addressing. So I don't think, we're not really asking anything of the council other than we would take an iterative approach to managing events. So we're going to start in the beginning with renting out the space, then build into, get into smaller events, and then like the third year getting into taking on the larger events, just to make sure that we can do it properly. If there are any other events that the town comes to and says, hey, you know what, we just decided we wanted to do a fall spectacular. If we're able to do that, then we'll manage it. But things that haven't been discussed ahead of time, that we would want the city to be able to square that away, if that makes sense.
It does. Mr. Mayor, it appears that there still needs to be a lot more detail ironed out before we can get to a stage where the council can commit to coming alongside, especially with the individual things that you're mentioning. One of the things that we're moving forward with is the sidewalk. Am I clear in saying that? Is the sidewalk at the front of the property. So there are other things, especially that are tiered items, like first tiered item, like your fencing, things that you probably need to sit with either Emily or with Chris in going through these items before we can sign off on it to say, hey, these 5 items are things that you believe should be in place by December 1st, or your start date of April 1st, and then working backwards as to what needs to happen before we can, I'm not speaking on behalf of all the council, but I'm just assuming that that's best to put in place right now, and then you can know exactly what needs to happen from our end that's going to tie into your ultimate plan.
Absolutely. We anticipated that this was going to be a detail-oriented thing that we would work in cooperation to do. So we understood that this is just basically the basic proposal that we would be sitting down with you guys to iron out the further details and providing a package as the council decides they want it quarterly or whatever, basically saying this is where we are. Just make sure that there's perfect communication between us and the town council. This is where we are, this is what we run into, this is what we anticipate that we need to try to address, and so everybody is comfortable.
Mr. Mayor, could I suggest just from the council, for you getting a pulse from the council members, if this is something that we would support, So it would give the Masons a peace in their heart as far as moving forward. Maybe if there are any objections from council in moving forward with anything.
We can get some information. Do you have any pertinent information beforehand?
No, sir. I was going to ask the same thing. If we could get an idea, because without opposition, I would like to meet with the Masons and just like Councilman Morris said, kind of get an idea of expectations for both sides as well as potential timelines that they see, and maybe we can try and get something together and present that to council here in the near future.
Yeah, I would hate for them to go through all this work, meeting with Chris, and then, 3 council members say, no, I don't like that idea. I would like to have that from now, just going forward, so they have this piece to move forward with their plans.
Okay. We'll go around the dais. Bob?
Fine. As long as Tracy Lynn handles it.
As long as Tracy.
With Chris.
With you. Chuck and Joanna, thank you so much. Full disclosure, Chuck and Joanna are my neighbors. We've talked about this.
You can't vote.
We've talked about this quite a bit, this whole evolution. Essentially, I think it's a great idea if we can work it out. As you can see, it appears they've done a lot of work. They put a lot of thought into this, spent a lot of time. Joanna, maybe you can tell folks, some of the things you've worked on too when I get done talking here. Give them an idea. But I know Bob wants me to speed this up, but I just want to say if this is a real opportunity, I think, for us. We have a non-performing asset in that park, and we've made some investments to fix it up. I think if folks are willing to take on that task and make those investments, which are considerable, I mean, again, the devil's in the details, and the length of a lease or whatever has to be worked out. But I think it could be a real synergy and a real partnership. And you could take advantage of some of the things we would like to do, and we could both benefit from this. So I think it's going in the right direction, and I could support that.
Vice Mayor?
I was going to say, I'm a resounding yes, big capital letters, exclamation marks, whatever that I can do, I'd love to help. Absolutely.
For me, it's definitely a resource that needs to be used. I can understand you wanting to capture the building and then spill out into the parklands, but I'm a little bit intimidated with the conflicts between public land and you wanting to reserve it off for other people. That's something that would definitely need a lot of vetting and working out. I'm sure we can come up with something because, as with condominium complexes that have clubhouses, things are worked out. So I kind of tip my hat to Martin and say, I hope you got some condominium experience in which we can come up with bylaws and whatever if necessary, right? So yeah, those are my concerns, is that spillover into the area where it's considered common land for everybody to play. We can kind of demark the building itself, but the spill out.
We're flexible.
Thank you guys for coming, and thank you for having a vision to commit to community space. That's so super important for our small town, and making sure everyone feels welcome and included. With that said, I do have the reservation of public space used for, private use, especially if bookings are required and things. So I'd be interested to hear, what kind of things we can iron out and all the details of that. But I am really excited to see this house be used and to have that value in our town and have the events, especially the Santa thing that's so important for, the community and to get our name out there. And I love that you want to include the local businesses in that. Hopefully, as you grow, you can, diversify with, different other celebrations too. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And just to be clear, we are anticipating like something being happening with the outside space, except for the area that we kind of demarked for birthday parties. That's the only place we felt like it would consistently, which is why we picked the back corner area, consistently probably be in use. But the things we're proposing to doing are just things that already are in plan for the town already, like movie events, concerts, these are these sporadic events. These are not something that we're anticipating like every other day. There's going to be something happening for charge or something like that. Those spaces are particularly just for the community and us serving the community, basically.
Thank you.
I think you guys have gotten what you came here for, the blessing of the council. You guys got work to do.
All right. Thanks, sir. Appreciate
Thank you.
it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the next item. We got a continuation for the discussion of the demolition request. I'm going to start off with, I guess, our ARB liaison to brief us on what ARB experienced with the submission and their comments on it. So I'm going to open it up for Marchand.
Hey Ken, can you hear me?
Yes.
We get a thumbs up from you, Ken. Okay. This is not a seamless meeting tonight, unfortunately, so I did want to say thank you to the applicant for providing the supplemental information by email. It's Mr. Bonney. Because of the technology tonight, I'm going to passively listen to the comments and discussion, and I'll be prepared to respond at the meeting next week. I do appreciate the council and the public accommodating me through this, but it's just not a good venue with which to participate in the discussion. So I'll listen, take notes, and be prepared to follow up with council on Monday. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Marchand. I guess we'll start off with the Beans and Mr. Bonney, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It's all yours.
Well, good evening. Thank you for having me here. Well, I'm just here because there were some questions that came up in the last town council meeting, and I am glad that we have Mr. Curran, Ms. Can I still say Lockhart? Congratulations. But they are here as well, and I did send in, I hope you received the packet that I sent in to answer some of those questions.
So do you have any questions for us while we kind of get our
Not really, not really.
standings?
If you're looking through that packet, it is page 11. I haven't numbered the pages, but it is page 11 where I put the responses to the meeting from September 7th. And, and here again, because of our meeting with the town attorney and the town planner, and it was on that, based on that discussion and that advice that I applied for the COA, which was subsequently denied. And at that time, I was told, to come to the town council if that happened. And this is where we are today. So.
Any questions from the council? I think we got all the information we really need here in the packet. I think it's just up for us to discuss and actually get some guidance from our lawyer on what we're looking at with any impending I guess, litigation and anything else associated with this. I thank you for coming, but if the board doesn't have anything to say, I think we're going to have to take this packet, evaluate it, discuss it with the legal counsel and everything else, and make sure that we got all our ducks in orders and we make an appropriate decision.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
The last time I was here, Councilman Morris had said, you know, we couldn't speak for the town attorney or the town planner, and since they were not here on that time, we decided to come back to the work session. So I was expecting that you all would have questions for the three of us as to that discussion that we had on that day.
You have a comment?
I'm happy to discuss in the closed session.
Okay. And I'm assuming, do you have anything, Emily, that you want to raise in public? We'll also have the closed session as well.
I think the only thing that I would add is for the work session packet, I have pulled together all of the documents leading up to this date to include the original application and materials, my planning assistant Samantha's findings, as well as my own. So I'm happy to discuss further when the time comes with council.
May I ask a question?
Feel free.
Okay. So in your email, you stated very clearly that you do not wish to provide an engineer report. You do not have an interest in that, or would you be interested in providing the engineer's report for the building?
Well, at this point, I don't see the need or the necessity for that. I in fact took the ARB on a tour of that property, and I provided pictures which should have been in your first packet of the state of that. Like I said, the first time I came in, I did not try to mislead anybody. I was going to rehab both the properties and get them up and running.
Right.
It was after the meeting with Mr. Krim and Ms. Lockhart that it was suggested that we take down one of the properties, and that would then resolve the zoning issues and the issue where we are at today.
Okay.
And that is why I applied for that COA.
Okay.
And again, I stated in the past, you know, the town is welcome to do that if they feel the need of a structural report of a structural engineer. It's just that I'm not paying for one at this time.
The reason I ask is because in the memo from Emily, our town planner, it has a clear checklist, and it states, the very first part, the applicant must provide a written statement explaining the reason for the demolition and describe alternatives to demolition and why such alternatives are not considered feasible. And I know I drew attention to that last time, and you did provide a very, very brief, although I would say very brief, it was maybe like 3 or 4 sentences in July that said that it was in disrepair and uninhabitable. The foundation is cracking and sinking in multiple locations. The interior framing has been subject to termites and wood rot. And then you offered the tour. And to me, I don't feel like that statement really describes to us what alternatives you've considered and why this is the alternative that we need to approve. And I really do truly believe that an engineer's report would assist you in that. So it's unfortunate that you do not want to provide that to us. And I do read in your email that, you know, some things are subjective as far as finances and things. It is just really unfortunate that the home is in the state that it is in, and that it would cost a lot to rehab it, I'm sure. But without facts, which, you know, you emphasized the importance of facts in your last discussion, without facts like from an engineer's report, it's hard to automatically give you what you're asking.
Well, when I first provided that report, or when I was asked to apply for the COA, and I gave that brief description along with the photographs, the staff, town staff, found that that was enough.
Okay.
If you look at the application that I did along with the statement that came from the town planner with a positive recommendation, it wasn't deemed necessary at that time to have a structural engineer's report.
Okay.
I guess I'm not understanding what the reason or what
Sure.
would be the relevance of that if we are asking for that to be demolished, unless you at this point, or the town council at this point, are willing to consider allowing me to keep both properties.
I don't think we can speak to that at this
Well,
moment.
then, exactly.
So, the COA is a separate issue, and that's what I'm trying to address with you and to voice what I think would be helpful. Because I certainly don't want to draw things out or make things more difficult. That's not my intention here. But what I'm saying is, I've read the expectations and what we need from you, and for me reading it, I cannot see that. I do not see you explaining what your alternatives are and why this is the only option for you, or the best option for you. I'm not understanding that, and pictures, they show a lot for sure, and it needs a lot of work, but you yourself admitted that your initial interest was to rehab it. So now I'm kind of like, can we? Is it savable? Why isn't it? And an engineer report would be factual and state those reasons why. I'm only offering that as an aid to you.
And as I stated in my answers to the questions, the only reason I applied for the COA is because it came out of that meeting with your town attorney and your town planner.
So are you not interested in demolishing it then?
I wasn't in the first part.
Okay, but are you now?
I was directed
Okay.
by your representatives, and like I stated the last time, I thought that direction came from the town council.
So you believe them offering you a suggestion or an alternative is a directive?
It wasn't merely a suggestion, it was a full conversation. We even talked about setback limits, we talked about if that house came down, there was no historic significance. I know that that's the main thing that was brought up. That's why the ARB denied it, is because of the possible historic significance. And we did not find any historic significance in that 1940 structure, nor to the Baker Bean connection. I mean, it's all provided in the packet.
Okay.
And we even talked about if we had to take that property down, would the other property then, or would the other structure then meet all setback requirements, et cetera, et cetera. So it wasn't just a mere suggestion. It was a full conversation, and leading from that, I was instructed, hey, the next step, you should apply for a COA, and if the ARB denies it, then bring it to the town council.
Okay.
And we can take it from there. Now, in that meeting with the town attorney and the town planner, I did mention, I wish the mayor or the town manager would be present so that everybody would be on the same page. Unfortunately, the way it happened when Martin's office, or when the Beans told me to reach out to Martin's office, I did, and we had that meeting a couple days later. It was just the timing of it. You know?
Sure. Would Emily or Martin like to speak on that interaction?
I'm happy to discuss it in closed session.
Okay. Okay.
I'm going to follow suit of the town attorney.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time. Unfortunately, Mr. Mayor, I will not be able to be at the next town council meeting, but I'll try my best to have another representative.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all for your time. Have a great evening.
Thank you, too.
Thank you.
Okay, I know this is an adjustment in schedule, but just to kind of save expenses by not dragging out the town council for being here throughout the full meeting, I'd like to rearrange our schedule so the closed session happens at this time. Do I have any
Mr. Mayor,
objections?
might I suggest that we handle items 6 and 10 first as expediently as possible, because I don't think they're going to be very long. That way we can cut the treasurer and the chief loose.
Good suggestion.
Okay. So rearrangement would be,
Q1 budget, Axon body camera, and then closed, because I have a feeling closed is going to be somewhat lengthy.
so no objections?
No.
Okay.
May I say something?
It's been closed at this point.
It was awful quick, sir. It'll take 5 minutes. That's all it will take.
Yeah,
Threw me a curveball last Friday.
Let's take this to order. This is closed.
I'm sorry, this is
Excuse
really
me, this has
important.
been closed.
Okay, let me ask one question. Mr. Prim, on...
That,
No, sir, I don't. No. Do I have to be...
I think there's a
at
disruption here. If we could
8?
have some assistance, please.
No, no.
Oh, come on now. It has been 15 months since we came here. I just wanted to know if I have to be there on the 8th.
She got a trip on it.
I'm supposed to go see my son, my grandchildren, and my great-grandchildren. I need to know if I have to be there on the 8th. No,
The 4th? I think it's 3rd or 4th.
no transparency in this thing.
She doesn't have to be there.
What's the 8th? What's the 8th?
No, she doesn't. The 4th.
Okay, let's continue on. Town clerk, you got an understanding of the rearrangement of the agenda? Okay, next we'll be moving to Q1 budget amendment discussion.
Good evening, council. The Q1 amendment in front of you, page 68, basically is addressing a few items that need to be addressed, mainly the additional funds that meals tax seem to incur, as well as the reserve funds for the fire funds. We need to move that from the reserve funds over to the revenue side in order to create that expenditure. Also, I try to make it as detailed as possible with the comment section as how the surplus will be used on the expenditure side. As you can see, right now I have allocated $246,000, which $150,000 will be for the park sidewalk, designated for the park sidewalk. The $95,000 will be designated towards the master architecture completion. That is just a placeholder. Right now, we still do not know what the total cost will be for that. And then, of course, the $1,000 recruitment bonus that we had to carry over for the officer that started after the fiscal year ended. Before I go forward, is there any questions when it comes to that revenue adjustments?
No, I don't think we have any questions. I think what we need to address here is a public announcement, right? So within the next bit of time, we can go over a lot of this information through the public announcement. So I think I just want to run through and make sure that everybody's in agreement to move forward with what we have and request that a public announcement be made.
So you want a public hearing for November 1?
So that'd give us an opportunity to work it on the liaison side and bring it back to council.
So you want to authorize a public hearing for November 1 for a first quarter budget amendment?
Is that a special meeting?
No.
No? That's our first meeting? Okay. Chris?
I just have a question, sir, concerning the procedure for the change, the 75,000 change for the meal stacks. What's the common practice for us? Is it to adjust it now because you see a trend, or to wait until closer to the end of the fiscal year?
So, the reason why I'm doing it now is because the number that we had projected was going off trends from the prior year during COVID. We did a decrease on the budget all around, overall. But going with the consistent trends at the time that we worked on this current budget, I believe it was in January, February, we adopted it. The trends ended up being higher than prior years. We ended with a surplus, obviously, with some of our revenues. Now the trend is consistent to what it's been done in the last couple of months, which would put us at this conservative number. It might be a little bit higher from what the trends are. So I wanted to also address the fact that we have a few businesses that were not here in town when we worked on the original budget, so to accommodate that additional increase as well. So just trying to get ahead of it, and also to allocate the expenses now.
Income.
Yeah, well, with the additional revenues, I want to allocate also where it would be expenditure out on the expense side.
I thought why I'm asking it. So there's $75,000 that we are projecting additional income. Would it be beneficial not to include it on the budget and nearing the end of the fiscal year, knowing that we have $75,000 or even more that we can allocate to one of those big ticket items that we could pay for? That's on our CIP. Because if it's on the budget here, we're never going to think that that's an excess in the next 8 months. We're not going to think that 75,000 was an excess. It's going to already be in the budget. But if it's not included in the budget as an income, and come January, February, March next year, God willing, we can then look to see, wow, we have $100,000 that's surplus. We could then use that $100,000 that's nowhere in the budget and take off one or two of the items on the CIP. Is that a good practice to have? I'm just asking a question.
Roberto, is that good practice? Or?
I mean, we could, but as of right now too, when it comes to the CIP, council really hasn't, aside from the street sidewalk project that we're obviously funding through the surplus, as well as the completion of the town center architectural, we still have funds that we have to discuss over the ARPA. We could, in theory, but like I said, the intention of this first draft was for you guys to begin the conversation and speak on it. This is something that I worked on, but it's obviously can change. But yeah, we could do that. We could do that.
I'm just thinking, there are other things that will come up that's not on the CIP, like changing out these lights. Let's just use that as an example. Changing out all of these to LEDs. Maybe it's a $50,000 ticket that at the end of the fiscal year we realize that we have a surplus and we can say, hey, let's spend the money that we never budgeted for, and we improve the facilities that's here and take one thing off the list. I'm just asking if we could possibly do that, but the danger with including it in the budget now and doing a budget amendment is that it's gone. We're not going to think about it come the end of the fiscal year, but if we keep it separate, that $75,000, the minimum $75,000, is something that we could look forward to as a surplus that we could allocate to a major expense.
To address that point, as you know, we are going to be reviewing this quarterly. So if that were to happen, the ability that we're going to have second and third quarter, if we see an adjustment needed to spend it somewhere else, we could do that then as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something we won't forget. I believe in the prior council we did do that when it came to maintenance and public. When we came to addressing this building here, money was moved over to within the same budget. Funds were moved through an amendment, so we could do it that way as well.
Roberto, you've taken that additional money and credited it to a different line item on the expenditure side, correct?
Yes.
What's the line item that you credit it to?
It is actually, there's a few that happen. Trying to see combination of things that happened. So there was a few revenue sources that I had to accommodate that we lost. Some of the 75,000, some of it went to the special election. The
Is that the Mary Fund? Just kidding.
I'm not publicly endorsed by
Yeah,
town
yeah, I know,
council.
I know.
some of those funds did go to CIP.
How much went to CIP?
The remaining
Lion's share?
7,068. Some of them went to the events.
I'll tell you what, can you just provide a breakdown of where it goes? Because for transparency purposes, if we're going to take that much in, and I'd rather know it on the front end and expend it, or plan for it on the front end in terms of expenditures as well.
Does it make sense what I'm asking, though?
Well, it's a good question.
Yeah.
I think it's a very good question. What I would suggest is that, as Bob is asking, let's lay it out so we can see it better, see where it's going. We can talk about it on the liaison side, and we can bring it back to council and say, this is what we think. And if we still want to hold off, we can hold off.
Yeah, I mean, we got to account for it. We can dump it into the, reserve pot.
Yeah.
I mean,
Make sure
putting
we
it in
account for
reserves
it.
accomplishes the same thing.
It
so-
really is the same thing.
Yeah.
Chris?
So just to bring it into perspective too, the bulk of the park sidewalk, it's $150,000 that's allocated, so that 75 would almost cover half of that. So it's fine, if council would like to wait, that's fine, but at the same time, we won't have those funds to be able to move forward with some of this stuff, or we'd have to pull it from reserves and fix it later on. So it's just one of those things, it depends on where exactly that money is being used. Like Roberto.
It's absolutely nothing to do with the sidewalk.
It could.
Sidewalk is coming from reserves.
Well, but if you account for it up front as a realized revenue stream, and then you want to draw that down, and instead of paying for sidewalk costs from the reserves and using the reserves to fund the other CIP expenditures in the out years, you could use a portion of that money to offset the cost of the sidewalks on the front end.
It's really just
It just means we
It's just a
allocate
different
it
way
to
of
a
accounting
pot.
for it.
Yeah, you allocate it to a pot now, you readdress it in a pot later on. So it's pretty much two.
I mean, yeah. I
Two
just
reviews.
think what Roberto is doing here, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but is essentially trying to get ahead of it. That's all. From an accounting perspective.
Yes, very similar to a question that Councilman Passanello had. If you notice on the ARPA funds, I'm requesting to do that change now in the amendment for the full $1,007,000 and some.
I asked him about that today, yeah.
Yes, but that's just trying to get ahead of it. But like he stated, for example, not to say it would happen, but we went through this scenario where on June 30th, we received the $860,000 that we did not allocate, so I had to use it as a carryover. On the back end, had to call the accountant to make sure that we were doing it the right way. This is just more like if they were to do the same thing, it's already budgeted. If not, we can reduce it, knowing that it's going to come in the next fiscal year. So just trying to get ahead of the game.
Of course, my question was, if we don't get that second tranche in the fiscal year, then we'd have to make the adjustment back.
Correct.
No. Just more work for him and us. So, like I suggested, why don't you lay it out, as Bob has suggested, we'll go through it, and then we'll bring it back to council, and then we can make a decision. I mean, all we're looking to do tonight is to set out a notice, correct? Give the
Correct.
directive.
Let's give the directive for the notice.
To schedule a public hearing, yeah.
And
With or without it?
get that to us for the work session so we can put it. It's got to be done before the work session. Well, get it done in time to make sure that it's visible to the public.
Ideally, we should handle it next week.
Yeah.
So, because we got to have the public notice proper, or correct.
Is that something you could do for Thursday when we meet? I know you got a lot else going on.
I will shoot for it, yes.
Okay, all right. Good. I know, taxes.
Taxes.
And more taxes. Okay, we good? You're
Yes,
good?
sir.
Good question.
Okay.
I just love to know that there's a Christmas at the end of every the end of every budget season. You look around and see $75,000. Hey, what could we do that we never thought that we could get done? You know?
Yeah,
We used to call that the carryover carnival at the county. Oh, we found $4.5 million.
Let's get moving here, guys. Axion body cameras is the next item.
Chief, look at that.
Already on the
platform.
Here I am. I'd like to thank you all for your courtesy to me through this process and today. And it's both an honor and a pleasure to be here before you. And in my first address of official capacity, I'm asking for money. So try not to make that
At least you're doing it publicly.
Going to try not to make that a habit. The short and the brief is 5 years ago, the town of Haymarket entered into a contract agreement with Axon Enterprises, which has several devices, but this one is specific to body-worn cameras. That contract ends on November of this year. An outlay of $4,662 was outlaid to continue that contract for future years. So this is not like a reappropriation for procurement or anything like that. But due to the contract, or since that contract was part of the contract was budgeted, 2 additional employees were added to the Haymarket Police Department in a part-time capacity. Thus, the need for more licensures for Evidence.com and the Axon BWCs. So I'm requesting an outlay for the 2021-2022 budget, in addition to supplemental appropriation of $768 to bring that total up to $5,430, and that is 1 year. Of course, this will be another 5-year contract, but next year we'll appropriately budget for those 2 positions and won't be back asking you for a supplemental appropriation.
Good.
Any questions?
Roberto, you can handle that 762 in terms of a movement, or is it already built in?
768.
760.
Just for public record.
And you can throw that into the budget amendment?
Yeah.
Okay. In that case, Martin, we don't need to authorize the contract, do we? We can just authorize him to execute the contract, correct? As a directive?
Right, if there's no objection from council, then it's not on. If there's no objection from council, then the chief can certainly sign that contract.
Without objection, I would direct the chief to execute the technical assistance plan contract with Axon Enterprises. That way we don't have to deal with it next week.
No objection.
Any
Time is
objection?
of the essence, so.
No objection.
No
I
objections?
haven't signed it as yet.
Okay, move on forward with it.
One.
We'll handle the budget amendment to address it.
Okay. No worries. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good job, Jake.
Okay.
You make
Next
the
item
budget
is
look good.
closed
Good job.
session.
Do you want to cut Roberto and the chief loose?
Yeah. Do we need,
Get their freedom?
Do we need him for the lease and tenant discussion on
No.
number 8?
it's up to you.
Nope.
You think you need to be here?
I think it's a technical discussion, so I don't think so. I mean, that's me.
Well, Roberto, as the professional treasurer, do you think that you should partake in that discussion? Okay. All right.
We'll make it quick.
Okay. Chief, you're free.
Again, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yes, sir.
Now, Jake, you have to stay here and provide security.
Okay, may I get a
It's going to be another long one.
motion?
Well, let's go
We
into.
we will, let's go into
closed
motion and
session
close
first.
it, and we'll go in.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the council convene in closed session to discuss the following. As permitted by Virginia Code Section 2.23711A1, A personnel matter involving assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of specific public officers, appointees, or employees of the town, specifically dealing with the town manager and the administrative staff, and as permitted by Virginia Code Section 2.23711A7, consultation with legal counsel or briefing by staff members or consultants pertaining to probable litigation involving Haymarket property groups and the pending case of Bean versus the town of Haymarket, where such consultation or briefing in open meeting would adversely affect the negotiating or litigating posture of the town, and as permitted by Virginia Code Section 2.23711A8, consultation with legal counsel regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel relating to town leases and zoning law.
Second.
The last one in.
I second.
Got a motion and second. Did you get a second on that?
No, who gave, Mary? Who gave the second?
Second.
Joe did.
Second.
Mary wants credit for this. Will
Oh,
you
okay,
rescind?
please. Oh, I'm
Okay.
sorry. Okay.
Mary.
Well, Joe gets squeaky at this hour.
All in favor?
Aye. 5 minutes?
Okay, 5-minute break before we go into close.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, let's go back into open session. I need an
Fair.
attestation.
I would move that the council certify that the closed session just concluded, nothing was discussed, except the matter or matters specifically identified in the motion to convene in closed session and lawfully permitted to be discussed in a closed session under the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act as cited in that motion.
Second?
Mary.
Second.
Okay, got a second from Mary?
Weir?
Aye.
Casanello?
Aye.
Pater?
Yes.
Larson?
Yes.
Ramirez?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Schneider?
Put the Jeopardy music on.
Are we back to one beep or two beeps?
He's muted, so I don't know if he's on yet because of video streaming.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll move on then, because nothing came out of the meeting. Need.
Community garden.
What's that?
Community garden. Approved.
So,
Crossroads?
Crossroads, yes.
Discussed.
so next week, Crossroads will come for a joint public hearing with the Planning Commission and the Town Council. The documents should be attached. If you have any questions this week, please let me know regarding their application, the materials, the layout, the conditions, etc. Are there any questions now?
Just for clarification, the planning commission approved recommending it come to the council?
The Planning Commission had the vote on what was presented as the restaurant with a limit added, condition added for a coffee shop. They voted 3-2.
Okay.
Correct, 3-2? 3-2 for approval. Recommendation for approval to the council.
Okay, thank you.
Pretty tight. A tight vote.
Okay, any more questions on that?
Nope.
Probably need to go watch.
Next week.
Okay, community gardens.
So I just wanted to put forward a memo and a couple documents so that you guys are prepared for next week. I've been approached by Nadia Stewart, the founder of Rooted in Education, to potentially take over our community garden that's located at the park. Nadia and I will be meeting again this week. I think in just a first glance in our meeting we had at the park 2 weeks back, I think this is a really positive project, and I think that her group could be a wonderful asset to the town. She has a lot of cool ideas. She did put forward just a general idea of what it would look like. This is one that they worked on in Marshall. So that's their flagship garden. And she has a lot of other information online, but we will be meeting again this Wednesday. And then she will be coming, I cannot recall if she's coming to this upcoming meeting or if this is the one she would be out of town, but long story short, she would like to take over ownership. They will do all of the general maintenance and run the garden as a true community garden. So we'll learn more from her. And then ultimately, I would be asking council to give their support in turning this garden over to Nadia. I would not be asking for us to charge her anything. I would just be asking that we put together an agreement of maintenance and what it would look like and maybe an evaluation at the end of 1 year timeframe.
Could I join you on that meeting? Is that all right?
Absolutely.
All right, so
I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah, 9:30 on Wednesday if you guys can make it.
What time is that? What, can I join?
Tracy, you have a black thumb.
You're
I mean,
also
you
allowed to have
kill
a
every
meeting.
plant.
I do kill every plant, but I want to hear.
Yes, so it's 9:30 on this Wednesday, if that would work for you guys. We're gonna just meet right here at Town Hall, and I'll have Nadia recap everything that she mentioned beforehand, and then we can pull up images of the Marshall Garden and how they operated that one. So yeah, come ready with your questions. But I stressed, the biggest stress I had to her is I thought it was a wonderful idea, but maintenance, 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 weeding, maintenance. So.
And I kind of want to put this out there. When the Masons came, you have been working with them for quite a while.
Yes.
How do you see their project and this potential project working together? Like, you don't have to answer that today, but maybe we could kind of review that with Nadia and also the Masons.
Absolutely.
And I do also want to make note that I think that it's really important that the Masons continue to work with you. I think that having Chris there to support you in that would be important, but I think that they should continue to work with you.
Okay.
Okay.
I do have a question. I'm not sure if you went through this, but are they going to require any resources from us, or are they going to be self-sufficient?
Nadia?
Yeah.
When we first spoke about it, it was going to be pretty much self-sufficient. I believe that if the rain barrels did not provide enough water, we would allow water use from the house. We allowed that in the past. And then what we already do to maintain the surrounding area. And I believe that was it. It was very self-sustaining. Like, they really focus on, they get grant money to come in and build these. I did ask that we maintain what's there because it was an Eagle Scout project, and if anything, we enhance it and make it better, but that we at least leave that foundation.
Yeah, this also just goes into a description of the organization.
Yeah, it was very overarching.
Yeah, so if your questions could go into, how is participation in this, if there are like applications, because, we do have some Girl Scout troops and other Scout troops in there already. I'd hate to see them get booted out just for this group to come in.
They would not. So that was something, so when Nadia and I met up there, and this is what I was going to go into great detail later on, but I did tell her that we have Girl Scout troops and other community groups who have started using the garden, and she said she would find ways to work with them and invite them in to do maintenance days, grow the plants that they want, come and harvest the vegetables and even flowers, but they would be able to use it as a learning garden, and they would be able to actively participate while her group would really help to grow, maintain, weed, and see it flourish.
Great draw for each of those troops with her help.
And I think it can help the troop where so much of the ownership is not on the scout mom or dad who volunteers, and then it can really be an organization, and the troop comes in free of charge. There's no charge from them, and they get to just participate. And it also, from my understanding, is her group opens up the opportunity for anyone in the community to go and pick fresh produce, free of charge.
Yes.
Yep, and I'm assuming that this could be a win-win for the scouting troops, because now you got expertise, and they probably have access to brochures and educational material to train the kids and educate them.
Yeah, and I agree with Mary. I'd like to see how that's going to coordinate and tie in with the Masons.
Absolutely.
Can you make sure they plant some Carolina Reaper peppers, please?
We will put in the request.
Okay, any more questions on that? Lease tenant discussion.
Yes, so as you guys can see, the town has 8 tenants right now. We've got a couple that are month to month. Body Mind Studio did indicate, in accordance with the lease, that she's planning on retiring, so March 1st of 2022 will be her last day. Mac ISA is interested in renewing the lease, but with the discussions on the future of leasing, this is something I wanted to bring to council. As of right now, what I would probably recommend is that since Haymarket Church is got a lease until June 30th of 2024, that as long as I get direction from council, I will not have any lease go farther than that date. So basically, you know, a 1-year lease or 2-year lease would be about as far as I would go out, as long as that is acceptable to you guys. Or if you guys feel differently, please let me know, and we just can do whatever you guys would like.
Yeah, well, looking at our
To be continued.
our economic profile, there's no way we're going to have enough money to rebuild this building to have to require to kick them out. So I'm assuming that these leases can be extended as needed, negotiated. The discussion, I guess, needs to be how long do we make the lease?
Next month.
So you want to do that next month?
After, why don't we have this discussion in, this is September, right?
Yes.
Why don't we have this in November after we've got the other lease questions answered?
Understood. So I will say Mac ISA in particular, they were interested in a 1-year lease. That sounds like you guys were okay with that for 1 year at least?
Yeah, I think 1 year will be okay.
Okay.
I think we knew at some point in time we need to address the larger issue of what are we going to continue to lease? Is it going to be limited to this building? We're going to divest ourselves of the other properties, but that's a longer and more involved
that's a longer discussion. And of course, the focus on these tenants here are this building, except for Copper Cricket's in here and Cupcake
Cricket,
Heaven
Washington
and
Street Realty and Cupcake. Well, everybody,
Haymarket Coffee.
half of them aren't in this building, so you know, we're only going to have. Looks like we're only going to have 3 tenants in this building, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, any questions on that? Okay.
Maybe we should open a hotel.
Yeah.
Well, we got 3 acres of land in the corner. Okay. Flip back.
Custodian.
Next up is the
Custodian job description, maintenance.
Yes, sir. So we discussed this at previous town council meetings. We were instructed to meet with the finance committee, and we adjusted some of the job responsibilities and then all of staff to including Matt, who is currently in this position right now to collect the trash and everything. We reviewed it and felt that custodian was a better descriptor to include the responsibilities that have been included in the packet.
So I have feedback. So in the opening paragraph, it says this position works under close to general supervision according to set procedures, but determines how or when to complete tasks. I'm curious as to what that means. After but, should you insert like self-determines? Or is there any autonomy in this position? Because I feel like that is unclear.
So this would be something along the lines of if we say, can you clean up the trash in the town park and do this, that, and the other? If it's pouring down rain right this second, it's not intended for him to do it right that second. But if he can do it on Wednesday instead of Monday when it's directed to him. So it's kind of, it allows staff to provide a list of things that need to be accomplished. And then depending on, for example, staining a deck. You can't stain a deck if it's going to rain within 48 hours afterwards. So as long as he's willing and able to do it the next week when the weather forecast is better suited for it. You know what I'm saying? So there
Right.
is autonomy where we can provide lists
Okay.
of things that need to be accomplished, and then based on his expertise and his recommendation, when it'd be necessary for him to do the job.
Okay. My only feedback would be just to make that a little more clear in that statement.
We can do that.
And then for physical requirements, I think it's really important to emphasize the statement of vocal communication is required for expressing or exchanging ideas, and hearing is required to perceive information. That, I think, is limiting to people with disabilities, such as being deaf.
So right below that is the American with Disabilities that we include in there.
Right. I would feel better if that line is removed, like
This-
that whole bullet point, because people can communicate other than just through vocalizing that, and you can just communicate in other different ways.
So I can remove that. We will, if council is amenable to those edits. It's going to get sent to our insurance company to provide recommendations as well, because ultimately they're the ones that insure this for workers' comp and everything. So this is something that was taken directly from there. We tried to make sure that it's as form-fitted to what they had suggested, but fits for the town. So like I said, I'll absolutely take it out, but when we send it there, if they recommend it being put in, just know I'll indicate that that's a recommendation they provide.
Okay, I mean, if you're gonna take it out and send it to them, they should not indicate back to you that this should be put back in. I don't think they'll be like, you need to tell them that they need to speak in here.
Like I
So
said,
just
if
please remove
it's a
that.
requirement, that's the only way I would suggest if there was a change. But I'll remove it.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else with comments? Okay, so I'm assuming with these comments, you're going to adjust this and submit it to the insurance?
Without objection of council.
So that's the next step, guys. Any objections? Please do then.
Then the only other question is under supervision. There's been different questions about who they were going to report to, so that's up to council.
What's the staff's recommendation?
Either myself or Emily would be my recommendation.
Who was Thomas reporting to before? Exactly.
It's hard to determine because he just had his list and he just came in and just worked.
Yeah, it was not a direct reporting, no. There wasn't a job description.
I was to say, it wasn't a formal,
Yeah, he just kind of did his thing. He's always done for years, and I had to find him when I found out that he quit on us. I had to reach out to him. He didn't tell me. I called him, asking him, "Hey, you need to pick up something." He's like, "Man, I quit." I was like, "What?"
What?
Literally, that's how the conversation went. So he never really had a direct person.
Who's in charge of contacting contractors? It's you, right, Chris? Okay, so
For-
I
for
would
the most
suggest, like, since he needs to be in contact with contractors, that the custodian work directly with him to ensure that, you know, if there's an issue with the landscaping contractor, you know, Chris is made aware immediately and able to resolve any concerns or whatever needs we may have. That's my suggestion.
So a direct report to the town manager. And when the town manager's not here, who is it?
Emily.
The dep?
No, we're not hiring a deputy. Shouldn't even go down that road.
I gotta raise that anyway.
That's what the org
agree with
chart's
that.
for.
Right. The org chart.
It just makes sense to me.
Okay. So you got that spot filled out then. And I guess we're all good?
I think next up is the town events updates.
Yes. Town events, please.
So I just wanted to provide a memo with the general update of where we're at with Haymarket Day. So You can see that we have collected over 40,000. We do have just 2 or 3 pending vendors as of this week that will all be closed out end of business day on Wednesday. All of the booth assignments will be going out Friday with instructions, and we are finalizing the remaining few contracts for the music mainly. We are still working on a grand marshal. I did get a lead of someone I can contact from Tracy Lynn on determining maybe if there's a veteran in our community or someone that we could honor. So I will be following up on that tomorrow. I do want to know from the town council what your parade participation vision looks like. Are you guys walking? Are you riding? Are you getting together in a special meeting to make a float? What are your...
Strike that last
I
option.
think Bob needs to be on a float.
What would you guys like to do so that I can adequately prepare? Typically, I have you guys within, we have the chief who starts us out, then we have the sheriff, we have a couple, I would say, dignitaries with somebody doing color guard, so forth and so on, and then town council.
I mean, I'm open to whatever. Yeah, well, I'm working on a float.
You're saying the chief starts it out, right?
Yes, and I have spoken to Chief Al about that, and so we kind of discussed that he's going to have somebody drive one of the marked vehicles this year, and that he's actually going to walk with the sheriff and greet everyone, since it's his first Haymarket Day.
And what was the point of having the sheriff?
He provides the color guard.
They
He
provide
provides
the
the color
color
guard.
guard, and they've always participated in the parade, so when they come with the color guard, it's a nice
And the
parade.
sheriff do operate the correctional facility in which we put our, house our inmates from our
No.
arrests.
No,
I
it's
don't know
been-
how else to word that, I'm sorry. So we do work with them. They provide a service for our town.
They do provide a service for the town. They, I think, execute search warrants, or what warrants, is that a thing we do?
Political parties?
We do have political parties participating in the parade. I just want everybody to know also, we have one political party that has applied for a vendor booth. I recognize that the second very
We'll be calling in the morning.
commonly nationally accepted one had not yet applied, so we did reach out to them just so that it was very fair and equal, and they knew they were invited as well, so they will be calling in the morning.
Awesome.
Who's our,
No, you go
No,
ahead.
no,
You've
no,
got a
Vice
question?
Mayor.
No, you have a question. I just got added stuff.
So we have the chief, sheriff, color guard, and then the town of Haymarket.
Yes, so you guys going to be walking?
Yes.
Or would you like to ride in a vehicle?
No,
I think Bob
Okay.
should be on a unicycle.
I think us walking and talking to people is always
Bob
a
should
good,
just put the top down and drive his convertible
touch
and-
Agreed.
for the council. But are we gonna have a town of Haymarket council banner in
Yes.
front of us?
Yep, so you guys will have a banner.
Do we have?
I
Two
would just,
children to carry it.
I would just discuss amongst yourselves what the wardrobe attire is for that day, so that you guys have some unity, coordination.
The only thing I'm requesting is making sure we have a large enough individual flags to carry,
You want individual flags,
American flag.
not Jamaican.
No, I'm wearing my Jamaican shirt. But American flag, in the past,
We
we've
set
all.
the dress code, you're
So,
not.
a single
in
one
the-
for the entirety of the council.
No.
Each
The
have one.
individual
Each
ones that
have
we
one.
have
But
are
we don't want
individual.
the tiny ones.
You want a larger scale.
Yeah.
Like this big.
I think we had to hustle in the last couple of years just to find flags for us to wave. And I think it would be good just us having American flags.
Take one off the street light. We'll take care of that. So we'll have a banner and flags, and then we'll delegate to Vice Mayor to work on wardrobe with everybody.
Yes, she is.
No Jamaican motif
Yes.
this year.
Huh?
Heels for everyone.
Okay, and
Look good in
then,
heels.
I
The
prefer
other-
stilettos.
I was just gonna say,
No,
you know.
but wardrobe, what wardrobe? What are you talking about? Wardrobe.
match, if you're gonna wear your t-shirts like that.
Like the
your
t-shirts or polos or something like
What do
that.
we want to wear?
Denim.
How are you gonna be recognized as the council?
my Jamaican shirt.
If you're
I
over
wear it
five-
every year.
If you're over 5'7", you have to wear a skirt.
Roberto is offering to fund new shirts if you need new shirts. The other item that I wanted to discuss was if we were going to do any funding out of the CARES Act money for the tourism portion. I had discussed with Chris when he brought this up that in the years past, we did do a promotional video, and this might be a good opportunity to provide something that we otherwise could not afford this year, and that this would lead to some tourism ideas if we put out that for advertising, so forth and so on. So he was going to reach out to the group that did our COVID video, Skipper Films, I think it is, and we can come back with some more ideas or funding.
Do you have time?
I emailed them, so we'll see when they can get back to me.
Bring us a price next Monday.
I think, yeah, we can bring some information Monday on what we could actually feasibly pay for and justify.
Yeah, how about, I know we discussed it, the town manager and I discussed, what I was used to in my younger days at the Lollapalooza concerts was, you always had somebody going around passing out little packets of suntan lotion. Is there something, can we do something like that with some hand sanitizer? Or
What we were discussing is, do we buy a box or 2 boxes of masks for every vendor and a bottle of hand sanitizer, and then after they set up or while they're setting up, we pass those out?
I mean, it would definitely come from the CARES Act money, but I mean, it at least eliminates our liability a little bit on any type of risk that we'd be taking.
Shows being proactive.
Yes.
I also wanted to add, I had spoken to Emily, like maybe having a couple of signs made encouraging social distancing and reminding people, even though, because it is quite a popular event, just having a couple of those, and if we keep it generic enough, it can be reused for other events, because we don't know how long social distancing is going to be encouraged. So this could potentially be CARES Act funding as well.
Mayor, were you asking if we were going to hand something out as we were walking, or that was just directed towards vendors?
Well, vendors could keep a jar on their table.
Right.
If there are available packets, something that we could pass around and have people pass out.
Hand sanitizer instead of candy this year? That could get a little dangerous.
We do not allow for any throwing of items in the parade, especially toothbrushes. Yeah.
Okay, so I was going to say, may I mention the other? Okay.
Yes, please.
So we're working on ornaments.
Yes, we are.
So it'll be our 4th year. Very excited. I think we're leaning towards the cookies and cream, that building, is that correct?
Cupcake Heaven.
Cupcake
The
Heaven, I'm
Goldfish
sorry.
House.
Yep. And then, so we'll have a draft of that shortly so that we can all vote on that. And then I spoke with Santa. I love that man. December 11th would be availability for our Christmas holiday event.
Is that the drive-by Santa, or are you hosting a stand?
This would be an actual
The
event
actual
where
event.
he would be sitting and hopefully,
So we don't have to
again,
drive and freeze this year?
no.
Correct.
Okay, thank
No.
you.
Just one item of note, the reason we're stressing that it's December 11th is because normally that event is held on that first Saturday.
Right.
Right, the 5th.
So it bumps it a week.
Yeah.
Vice Mayor and I feel fully confident that it'll still be a great event. We actually would like to extend it an hour as well.
Yep.
And do a craft tent.
Yep.
So,
Very excited.
So my question with that is, that's a tree lighting ceremony.
yes.
Is that too late? Is that too close to Christmas to do the lighting?
2 weeks?
So, my recommendation would be, if council is okay with it, do your tree lighting on, let me get the date right, November 29th or December 6th. So do it right before your work session or right at the end of the work session if it's short, and then that would work. It's lit for the entire month. Or you could do it December 6th, which is your regular town council meeting, and you're still relatively at the beginning of the month.
December 6th sounds better to me. Decorating the tree. Could we do something to?
I mean, you know, October starts, what, Friday? So the first Christmas carol should be heard on Saturday, right?
They're already there.
Correct.
The
We're
Christmas
gonna
stuff is
project
already
it
in
from the
Home Depot and
museum.
Lowe's.
And then I did just want to mention that it's already talked about, started, the Shop Small event. We'll be very focused on that right after Haymarket Day.
Okay, so just an interjection, would there be a ceremony to light the tree? Or,
She suggested right before one of our meetings.
So I think.
no, a ceremony, I'm talking about a ceremony, because I agree with the December 6th date.
So if that is something we want to do, 100% we will make it happen. If you guys hypothetically wanted to, for one night only, start your meeting at 7:30, we have a small gathering at 7, you light your tree. We have a local partner that comes out and they typically do hot chocolate. We could ask them to provide that. I can ask the local music school to come do a carol, and then we can still have a smaller, intimate tree lighting that evening, but then we make it known, like Santa's coming on December 11th. We have crafts, we have vendors, craft vendors as well, and do it that way.
How's our CARES money look? If we do a Shop Small, can we do some type of voucher program again for Shop Small to
I don't know that we got time to get
promote
them
it?
printed.
Too little
And account
time?
for 'em.
Well, if you remember, the voucher program we did based on businesses that were negatively affected by COVID, because CARES Act has to be specifically affected by COVID. So that's the CARES Act is very specific in what we can and can't spend it on. That's not something, based on how our businesses finished last year.
We can't base it.
No, that's based on what their taxable revenue is, and that doesn't mean they're not hurting. And who's to say it wouldn't have been better?
It boils down to improved advertisement and everything else, and incentives for people to get out to these places.
Which is where
That's
I like the
something
video.
What we would probably do though is use the grand prizes. That may be something where we use CARES Act to purchase the prizes for the Shop Small event, or, you know, to improve the economic viability of the town overall. There's things we're gonna do, vouchers, I don't think that would be possible, but like I said, I think the prizes and maybe the printing materials that we use to, whether it's a hole punch with stamps or however we do that, that should also be able. So, I mean, a lot of the program itself should be able to be used CARES Act. I just don't think we'd be able to do vouchers in this amount of time.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Tracy Lynn, when is the Shop Small event? I want to make sure I write it down.
So have we decided on our dates?
So, 1 second, let me pull the calendar back up. So what we were aiming for is typically we start it on the weekend prior Thanksgiving, so it runs through actual Shop Small, Shop Local Day, which is the Saturday after Thanksgiving. So we're looking at November 20th, running it at least for the full week, but I was going to recommend we actually run it right up until our Christmas event. That gives people 3 full weeks. They have to turn it in the day of the Christmas event at the latest, so they can go shop. We have a cutoff at, say, 3 p.m. We can tally, or we can pull a raffle at the event and announce the winners right there.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay. I have one question about the parade for Haymarket Day. Do we go through a judging event? I know we have in the past. I don't know if we continue
Can't
with
talk about
that.
the bank building.
So who would be the judges in this?
So typically what I do is I actually ask you, Mayor, to be a judge, and then if you want to pull a second council member, sometimes a lucky staff member gets tossed up there as well. We can also ask a business owner to join us. It is completely up to you guys who you would like to see up there. I think Vice Mayor, I don't know if you're in 2 parade positions still.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Still ironing it out, yes.
Okay, so we might lean, Mayor, on you to be up there, and then another representative from the council, and then I'll work with Vice Mayor, we could pick a business owner.
Okay. 'cause,
And
yeah,
if you guys want to nominate like a citizen resident as well, I mean, totally up to you guys.
Yeah, because the question kind of went over my head when I heard we would be walking at the front end of this parade, and it's kind of like, okay, who's going to run real quick?
Yeah, you would have to,
So
you'd have to
typically-
come back and go back up to the top of the bank building.
Now, typically what we do is you guys come down and then you get to the end, which this year actually make a good point. You're actually probably going to be going the other direction, and so when you get to light, you would have to walk back up. Typically, it's slow enough in the beginning there because of who we put up there, that as you walk back up, you'll catch a good look.
Okay.
But the other people would be in place. So the business owner and the other person would be in place already as judges.
Okay.
Yep. Mhm. Yeah, when you guys are in the area waiting to go out for the parade, you can kind of walk around, see the different floats, and make notes as well.
So your comment is we're going to go the opposite direction what we've done in the past few years?
That is potentially going to occur, yes. I
Okay.
am finalizing that this week. We have been in touch with a new business owner in town, and we're hopeful to use their large parking lot on the west end.
Okay.
Can we go back to the marshal?
Yes.
So in past years, we've had a combat vet. We've had, last time it was Giuseppe's wife,
That was in 2017, Josie.
Josie.
Last year, we had, in 2019, we had Phil Swinford.
For, Pam's husband?
Yes, for the Grand Marshal.
so-
And I believe the year before that was Jack Cap, Mayor Jack Cap.
Mayor Jack Cap, and then before that was the amputee, the former Marine.
D'Andrea. Marcus.
Yeah. Is there any way we can think outside of the box, maybe for like first responders, instead of, pushing the whole military thing? And I'm glad I'm the one saying it because I'm pro-military, but it's, instead of pushing the military agenda, maybe first responders, like, a doctor, nurse type thing, maybe not an individual, but I think there's just for what they've been through, especially through the pandemic, to be able to.
Something you can
What
talk.
about like a healthcare professional, like a nurse?
Yeah, like
Or
a Novant.
Within our community.
You could
do
probably
we know-
reach out to a Novant.
No?
Do we know of any healthcare first responder providers in our,
I know someone who used to live in
Neighborhoods?
town. She's moved outside of town, but she is a bigwig up in between Novants. So I could ask her if she has any nursing staff.
But instead of just highlighting just one staff, because, once you start
That's fair.
bringing one person to the forefront, then the attention is on that one person. So I'm more talking about the profession. How can we focus on, I don't know the answer, I'm just asking and throwing it out there. Maybe it's, a nurse and a doctor, maybe someone who dresses like that, but they're representing that field of professionals.
I look good in a nurse outfit.
We can reach out to Novant and see if some of the ICU nurses or.
I wouldn't think that they would be able to share addresses though.
Well, you could reach out and see if anybody wants to volunteer from there.
We've already reached out to a couple of nurses, and immediately they responded, right, when we called them, and immediately she responded, and she said, I think she's been in contact with you since, and she's a trauma nurse.
We could ask if the people staffing our nurse station would be willing and able to lead our parade.
I just think a group effort in recognizing the first responders, especially in the medical field, and that's the focus for the marshal. You know, because we've gone the route of everything else over the last five to 7 years. You know, we've hit stalwart community people who have grown up in our community, former military. You know, we've done all of that job. CAP, I think it would be a good gesture for us to recognize them.
I love that idea.
But dressed. So immediately people look on the dress, and that's what brings the focus, the nurse in dress or the doctor's robe.
Yep.
Yeah. So if you want me to reach out to that lady again, I can, and we can build a team.
Would you?
Yeah.
That'd be good. That'd be helpful.
And she's providing the first aiders here. Yeah, is council okay with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I think it's great. I think it's wonderful. Yeah, I wanted to do like a group.
Yeah.
So I think it's great.
There you go.
I come up with one once in a while. I just think we put a lot of focus on military, you know, a lot more than, you know, we forsake those silent professionals, those others that are there.
So, and I'm assuming like EMTs would fall into that as well. So if we get a group, we can go from first response all the way down to the trauma triage and everything else.
All right, I'll work on that.
Okay, any more question on events? Okay, transportation endorsement requests? Flip the page.
Prince William County has asked for the town's endorsement of a sidewalk project. Oh, well, actually, it's a grant for a transportation alternative application that would provide a sidewalk from the I-66 bridge to Heathcote. It would cross over at Walter Robinson, and then on the eastern side of Old Carolina, it would go all the way to Heathcote. This is something council has actually asked staff to reach out to the county and see when this could be possible, and this is something that, like I said, they're filing for a grant application for it, so I don't see why council wouldn't want to endorse this recommendation.
And it's just an endorsement at this stage?
That all it is an endorsement.
And you're saying it's a letter or a resolution?
It's a resolution.
Should be a resolution.
Correct. We'll correct that for next week. It'll be a resolution.
Good.
So you'll draft something?
Yes.
Yep.
Think it's a great idea?
Yeah.
We lost it 3 years ago. It was in play 3 years ago, and we lost it because the chairman of the town council supported another candidate for supervisor. And because of that, that support was withdrawn. The money was already there in set aside for that walkway, and because he withdrew his support for the supervisor, that money was yanked.
Great.
I did notice in the picture that you showed, it's only the right side of the road if you were traveling from our town to Heathcote.
Correct. It's across
East
the
side.
street at Walter Robinson. It crosses the street, and on the eastern side of Old Carolina, that's where the sidewalk would go to Heathcote.
There is, so how would pedestrians safely get to that piece of sidewalk, considering that there is no walking path on that bridge on that side?
So that's where they would cross the bridge on the left side, and then they're
Will there be a designated crosswalk? Are they going to install that?
Yes, that's part of this application.
Okay. Okay.
The reason why they had to cross the street is because there's not enough right-of-way, to my knowledge, for them to do the stormwater as well as the walkway, because there's houses that are really close. That's why they have to cross the street.
Okay.
So that's
No,
where,
the reason is because they already have the easements and the right-of-way on the other side of the street, and they didn't bother to do it. They did it, they don't have it completely on the west side.
Okay, so
Been a long
I just
matter
want
of
to make
debate.
sure that they have expressed the
parcel.
intention to ensure there is a crosswalk and everything, a
Th-
safe
This
way
is
for
a
people to
federal transportation alternative, and then they would require it to be a crosswalk. VDOT's not going to approve it if there wasn't a crosswalk that connected it.
cross. Okay, it's just not listed really, so,
Like, I will make sure they indicate that on the plans for next week.
I mean, I fully support it, put in the sidewalk. And if this is a requirement that we know is expected of this type of work, then cool, I'm all for it.
We could make sure it's in the resolution.
Condition it, yeah.
Okay, so direction there.
Motion? Move to adjourn.
A motion?
Second.
You got the second?
This is Mayor's turn. Withdraw.
All in favor?
Aye.
Man, it's getting too late.
The last hurrah.
I need Dak to throw for 34.